I'm Curt Doty with RealmIQ. This is our podcast, RealmIQ Sessions, where we talk about everything AI with AI leaders from around the world. Please give us a follow or subscribe. Today's guest is Joel Pilger, founder of Impossible Pictures. He led that renowned studio for 20 years. Along that journey, Joel always wished for a roadmap. So after exit, he was inspired to create one for all of the world's creative studios, very altruistic. For the decades since, Joel has dedicated himself to helping busy studio leaders grow and thrive by combining his extensive experience with a deep empathy for the entrepreneurial roller coaster. Today, he leads Forum, teaches accelerator courses, personally advises select studios in Forum Reserve, and hosts the popular podcast, The Fabulists, which I have listened to. You're fabulous on that, which delivers his message of positivity and possibility to studio leaders worldwide. Welcome, Joel. So let's get into it. Please elaborate on your background. And as we are both agency guys, you're the first really agency guy I've had on the show.
Wow.
So I'm excited about this conversation. So let's talk about it.
Let's go. Well, the thing that I would maybe elaborate on, first, let me say thanks for having me. It's good to be with you and on your podcast and get into this conversation. And I'm chuckling because, your intro, you said I talk with AI experts, and I'm like, am I really an expert? So you're going to have an interesting chat, just understanding sort of the relevance of AI to my world.
Yeah.
But the only thing that I would maybe add to that intro is that I'm a fellow creative on this journey navigating the business world, because business is this means to an end called, if we want to be successful in the creative career, we have to master so many of these areas in business. And ultimately, as we do, that unleashes, let's be honest, great clients, great budgets, all these kinds of things come through an understanding of business.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. And I'll just maybe tease up the idea that AI is one of those tools that creatives use to do just that. So that's my expansion on my opener.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks so much. So yeah, I love your focus and emphasis on business, because I learned at a very young age as a young designer, new creative director over 25 years ago, that unless you can sell the creative that you're doing, it will never see the light of day, which means you have to understand the business needs of your client, right? And how does that creative match or enhance or amplify the client's business needs? Because if they don't match business needs, you're just in this discussion about it's a beauty contest, right? And it's hard to build a business on beauty contests. Now, some results in pitching are based on beauty contests, and that always pisses me off because, man, we had a great strategy.
Yeah.
But it's that fusion of strategy and creative that matches the business goals with a client that hopefully can lead to success. But it's more of a concerted effort that goes beyond, hey, I'm a great designer doing cool shit. Why don't you buy my stuff? I've seen too much great creative literally on the floor that never saw the light of day.
Yeah. And those people, their careers, their actual potential impact in the world is very limited because of that inability, right, to do what you just described.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's very interesting because you led a successful agency, and now you're being this really kind of cool advocate helping other studio owners. How's that going? And is it helping them? Are there success stories? Do you see how you've kind of raised the bar with these founders and agency owners? How's that going?
It's going even better than I was hoping it would. Let's just say that I've exited my agency 10 years ago this year. And after exiting, I found myself wondering, how can I take all of this knowledge and these connections and these ideas and things that I had learned and leverage them forward into something that would be exciting and fun and make a living and all this. And I spent 10 years consulting. And just this year was the year when I said, okay, I'm ready to really go back to my roots as being a founder. And how do I help all these other founders? And I launched this community that you mentioned called Forum. And I was really surprised because in just a few months, right, there are a little over 300 founders. And these are all people that I know, that I have vetted, that I've handpicked. So this is a really incredible group of individuals that are running studios and production companies and creative agencies. And what you already know, but I'll share with everyone else here, is that these founders are remarkably, they're not only brilliant and amazing people and far more talented than I ever was creatively, but they're generous, they're open, they're curious. And so when they drop into this private network, they contribute. They're asking great questions. They're helping each other. They're making other people make connections. Of course, I teach classes and we're having conversations about business practices and all that side of things. And how it's going, I would say very well. I'm very excited with the impact that I'm able to see people achieve. Because for me, this is how I'm almost like vicariously living through people and continuing my journey as a creative entrepreneur, as a founder. If everything that I learned, especially the mistakes I made, if I can give that to the next generation and help them basically have more impact more rapidly and give them a better shot at being successful in business, then I feel like I've made an impact in the world by helping today's creatives be unleashed, produce their best work, right? Do all the things that maybe I never got to do. So I'm excited about it. There's other things, of course, that I'm doing, like dinners and the podcast and working with people directly and that sort of thing. But overall, I'm very excited with where I am and what we're building.
That's awesome. So I do want to talk about AI. I know you had briefly mentioned it. Yes, AI is a tool, but it's certainly affecting the creative industry, the ad industry, Hollywood, many different sectors. I think Hollywood is probably the last business sector to embrace it, and their hesitation, has been for all the wrong reasons, because these edge case scenarios kind of amplify fear when other businesses and other business sectors have embraced it and improved their efficiencies and transformed their business. So you're talking with a lot of leaders in the creative industry. Just curious, does AI ever come up? Has it come up in the last year and a half? Because it's a big topic.
Oh man, it's come up big time. And if I was going to chart the story thus far, the narrative arc has moved from sort of shock and awe and freak out to just good old fashioned fear, now to some sort of like arms folded. This is not the enemy, but it does present some challenges, but it's also our friend. And it does present opportunities. We don't know where it's going to net out, but it's clearly going to be part of all of our futures. That's the broad narrative.
Yeah.
Just to give some specificity to it, as I'm thinking of the day inside my community when one agency owner, she runs a motion design studio with a few partners, and she posted one of the first posts when Midjourney was a thing, right? Mm-hmm. And the post was something like, I'm trying to figure out, how am I still going to have a job in the future? And that was the reaction that we got from a lot of people very early on, was this is going to replace us and so forth. Now it's matured. And first of all, I can say this past quarter in my community, I asked a friend of mine, his name's Ben Silverman, to come in and be a resident expert inside our community on the subject of AI. Mm-hmm. Because I knew I said, we need to spend at least a quarter talking about this. And the cool thing about Ben was, I challenged him. I said, as our resident expert in AI, I need you to be in here on a daily basis telling us, why should we care and how are we going to use this? And give us examples. Show me a production company, show me a studio, show me people that are using these tools, not just the crazy demos that we're all seeing on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Which, kind of blow our minds and get everybody talking. But I am finding myself increasingly, and I think everyone in my community, saying, where's the beef? Like, how and who and what are people creating with these tools right now in reality? And that's a different story that I think everyone is missing, because that's not what's getting posted on YouTube.
Right.
There's a few, right? There's a few, but 99% of the stuff being posted and shared and all that is this, I don't know, it's this exciting, titillating or terrifying whatever thing. So I'm excited to see us moving into this, I don't know, early stage conversation of like, okay, it's not going to take our job, but the people who master these tools might. So let's start mastering these things ourselves. I have a whole theory of like what AI is in the meta grand scheme of things in the universe and in the economy that we can go into later. But hopefully that gives you a sense of where we are. And it's funny because there's even a story I'll tell you about that happened yesterday about how relevant AI is. So we'll get to that as well. But I want to give you a chance to comment on what I just shared.
Yeah, no, you were smart to bring in an AI expert. Just so we give workshops, but I built a group of experts that go beyond my focus, which is on creative, because I'm a creative guy for decades. And obviously, it's exciting. Gary, I jumped in, but my stable of mentors are coming from cybersecurity, ethics, teaching, education, and then marketing, PR, HR. So because every company that we talk to, you can't just go to the marketing group and expect them to like transform their company. You have to have a strategy that is more inclusive and broad in its application and focus so that it can be adopted and organically grow within a company. Congrats on starting that focus. I will say that after a year and a half going from the transitions you talked about, I feel we are in a thaw right now. It's been an iceberg, but it's starting to thaw, which is interesting because specifically the creative community has these tools, our regular tools, Adobe, Premiere that we use, have now integrated the little sparkles and say,
Yeah.
we do something for you.
Yeah.
And so it's really not learning new tools. It's your old tools that have new features that are based on generative AI. And so that I think is helping adoption in the creative community because their competitors, they're using the same tools with the same new AI features.
Yeah.
And so I believe, and I've written and talked about this a lot, is that there's been a lot of churn and a lot of garbage created through the democratization that these tools have given everybody. You see it every day in a LinkedIn feed. It's like, oh my God, here's, another guy, rendering a flying pig with rainbow wings. And it's like, look what I did. It's like, yeah, but for what purpose? Right?
Yeah.
I have no time to just play. I try to play with purpose. And so I think these tools given to the right hands, creative hands of people with 5, 10 years of experience in their vocation, they're the ones that are going to transform the creative community, transform business, transform new processes in which we create. It's not going to be the hack amateur that never graduated from college yet. It's going to be these seasoned professionals, and I call that creative centered AI. You talk about human centered design. I think creative centered, and I coined that term, not that I
Nice.
trademarked it, but I think that is the focus that needs to be taken by creatives so that they realize they are in charge. They are in the driver's seat. They need to embrace these tools and leverage their expertise to elevate what are new art forms and new ways of expressing creativity that, given in the hands of real pros who know what they're doing and can craft stories through whether you're a trailer editor, a movie editor. I want to see what those people are doing. Not,
Yeah.
hey, I'm an AI filmmaker and I just did some random clips of zombies and it's like, but so that's a movie? That's an AI movie?
Right. No,
Yeah.
we've all been subjected to look at the trailer I just made using generative AI, and we all watch it and we go, "Oh my God, technically there's something amazing happening there." But the person has a caveat because they always say the story is terrible. You would never actually want to watch this movie, but right, and the but is see where it's going, and okay, yeah, see where it's going. But it is interesting. I've heard some people say even the term is most like unfortunate because it's brilliant branding, artificial intelligence. But a lot of people that I would say are smarter than me are saying it's not intelligence, it's something else.
Mhm.
It's incredible. Again, a lot of people that are on the critic side would say it's mass condoned plagiarism, right? At scale and at speed, right? There's all these arguments and legal issues that are being figured out. But I'm with you. Here's where I'll bring it back to, Curt, is a friend of mine, Ryan Summers, who's an amazing creative director at a studio that I work with, and he's one of my council members inside of Forum. He always brings it back to, as a creative, one of the greatest things that you bring to the world is your taste.
Yes. Yes.
And great creatives are taste makers.
Yes, absolutely.
And I will submit, again, we can unpack this if you want to, but I will submit that AI in its current form will never be a taste maker. It will be in the hands of a tastemaker,
Right.
but because it's a little bit like if you hired a young person, maybe fresh out of college, and then just said, all right, here's the entire internet of creativity and images and words and phrases and video and everything. Now create the next thing, the thing that's going to be the taste this year.
Yeah.
You realize, oh, he could or she could generate a bunch of interesting things,
Mm-hmm.
but you still need someone to say, I have my finger on the pulse. I know the zeitgeist. This is going to hit that thing that we as human beings need or
Yeah.
want on some level.
Yeah, I love that. I talk about the aesthete. Some
Yeah.
people have it, some don't. It is that critical. And who else better to discern what is great creative than those gifted with the aesthete? You're either born with it, you can be trained if you go to art school, whatever.
Yeah.
You learn that critical thinking around creative by critiques, right? Watching them, participating, and then eventually leading them. If you're a creative director, you're the one that's, critiquing your own agency's work. So yes, that's why I say, creative centered AI. That person has the aesthete. It can be not even a designer, it can be an editor, it can be a trailer editor, motion graphic, whatever. But they have a point of view about what is cool, right? At the end of the day, we've all been in this, been the cool kids, right? And why are you the cool kids? Because you have some type of frame of reference and synthesis and understanding of the world and how it's expressed through creative yeah, that's cool because I said it's cool, and I'm cool because I said it's cool, and I'm in the cool world. And these hacks who don't have the aesthete can't be leaders, shouldn't be, can't be.
I've been having this observation recently. I'm curious if this has been your experience. Is let's say that any skill, so let's say you're a designer or you're an editor or you're a writer, whatever, that is not only a skill, I'll even call it an expertise, but there's a process that all creatives go through, right? From start to finish, right? You have the steps, the stages that you go through. If you look at your process, there are steps in that process that are cumbersome, that are tiring, that you just have to like do the due diligence. And as a grown up, as a mature creative, okay, I got to do this research. I have to do this market analysis. I have to do, whatever the thing is. Or it could be at the very end. All right, I created the thing. Now I got to create the 400 deliverables and all this iteration of permutations and things like that. I'm finding that people are using to help in the stages of their process where they need to be more efficient, not where they need to be more effective. Because in a way, what the tools are letting us do is get past a lot of the grunt work. And especially like for me, I'm a really good editor when it comes to copywriting, but I suck at pretty much every other step of the process. So that's why I will crack open ChatGPT and be like, do this hard work that I'm not really great at and be very efficient because it can just crank stuff out, crank stuff out, crank stuff. And then Joel, the tastemaker, comes in and says, now that you've done that, now I'm going to take the part of the process that I actually love and that I think I'm pretty damn good at and do that. And I'm just curious if that is, in a sense, where we're headed, is maybe these tools are going to simply help the processes that we already have solve the areas where we struggle being efficient and scalable. And then in the areas where we really have this genius, that we're going to be able to focus even more on that because the dirty work has been done at the other steps in the process by the tool that is good, but not really great at the level of what a human being can do.
Absolutely. We have a process that we advise companies of how to analyze a workflow, not necessarily a creative workflow. It could be onboarding a new employee, in HR. And it's literally, if there's 10 steps in any workflow, identify 3 to 4 steps that are those menial tasks and see how AI can replace or enhance or augment those tasks. If you do just that, you've increased your productivity by 30 to 40% just by doing that. And so if you take that into a Hollywood paradigm, let's say, which is going through major transition right now,
Yeah.
not as many TV shows, not as many movies, dwindling amount of movie studios through consolidation. So that means to the creative community, it supports it, less work because it's less movies and smaller budgets for films. So then it's forcing all of us into this, this seat of efficiency. How can we save money, show the studio that we're saving money, be more productive with less? We're getting less jobs, but let's do them more quickly so that we can maintain some type of profitability to keep us on par where we've been. When Adobe Premiere came out with their features, it was an amazing demo, kind of instant rotoscoping, which is a laborious process before, kind of scene enhancement, replacing objects within a briefcase. And it's like, it's moved from, hey, we'll fix it in post to we'll fix it in AI. And what editor doesn't like that? Yeah, they have to learn some things, but these are simple to use tools, but it's putting the rotoscope artists out of work, which is inevitable. But that editor is still crafting the story, this movie, but they're just enhancing, extending their scenes that they have to work with. But editors are the final storytellers of a movie. So you want those people who could tell those stories, those complex stories.
I am sitting here thinking, first of all, it's a great example of the grunt work, right? When we talk about things like rotoscoping and rig removal, wire removal, all this sort of stuff, I'm just going to put this question to people. Because I've noticed this throughout my life, right? That when jobs get eliminated by the marketplace, like, first of all, let's acknowledge that disruption sucks, okay? Because human beings, by nature, we like predictability. There's something in our, DNA that wants consistency. We don't like change, especially when it comes attached with, hey, I might not be able to pay for my meal tomorrow, or I might lose my house or something. So that's a real thing. I don't mean to minimize that when I say this, but the question I always ask is, if you're like me and you have a child, do you want your kid working on an assembly line?
Right.
Right? Do you want to have your kid grow up and be a rotoscope artist is the way to put it in a creative context. So everyone knows the answer to that is, well, no, but, right. And then there's this but called, yeah, but my job, it's different. That shouldn't apply to me. And my encouragement is it's always been this way.
Yeah.
AI, okay, is just an innovation. It's a tool in this ongoing process that's been happening for, honestly, thousands of years, and it's accelerated in the past few hundred years, and it's rapidly accelerated in the last, call it 30 years, which we would call the digital revolution.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with this word? Yeah, if you're familiar with this word ephemeralization, it's this word
kind of,
that,
but what's your application?
Yeah, so Buckminster Fuller
Mm-hmm.
was this thinker, futurist. I don't even know how I would describe him. I was at a conference in Milan, and one of the creative directors from Buck was on stage presenting their latest work and so forth. And when he was talking about the company, he said, "We are actually named after Buckminster Fuller. And by the way, here's this quote that we often share." And it was this quote where Buckminster Fuller says, "Ephemeralization is the process by which we can do more and more with less and less until eventually you can do everything with nothing." And when I saw that quote, I about fell out of my chair. I said, oh my God, that is the thing. This is the tension that we've all lived with all our lives, but especially business and as a creative. And when you start realizing, oh, AI is the next iteration of this process of ephemeralization happening in the world, because guess what? We can now do more and more with less and less, and we continue to march towards a future where we will eventually be able to do everything with nothing. And so my encouragement is, once you realize that, you realize, well, this has been the same damn job we've been doing ever since I started in this career. It's just we think as human beings, but that's painful. And I've had a really good, steady job for the past 10 years, and I kind of thought that I had escaped that process. I thought I had sort of opted out. that didn't no longer apply to me. And the reality is it applies to everybody. And AI is one of those things that will be, I submit, ubiquitous
Oh yeah.
as the latest disruptor of this process.
Yeah, two things I want to break that down. The first is this idea of creating a space through these efficiencies that have been afforded us. What do you do with that space? It's a new space in your soul, your time, and what are you doing with that space? Now, you can either work harder, be more productive. You could spend more time with your family, have a balanced life. Or what I think is more important is how can you achieve a higher level thinking to problem solve new things that you were just too bothered to even contemplate before in
Right.
your own personal life, in your own industry, solving world problems, which we have a lot. I think there hasn't been enough focus on that mindset of what are you doing with that time? And so that's my first kind of response to what you talked about. The second is from an agency perspective, this is another concern, is like, let's just say, I'm a head of marketing at a movie studio and contacted an agency and I said, hey, I want you to work on a new campaign. And that agency says, yeah, well, we've been learning AI and we've embraced it, but we're still highly creative. And they say, oh, really? So you're using that AI stuff. Okay, well, so why are you charging the same amount if that's saving you time by 30 to 40%? Will you reduce your prices by 40% because you said you're an AI studio now?
Right.
And so my concern is, and this affects all type of work that is based on billable hours. Billable
Sure.
hours lead into profitability because you have to have a profit margin based on the markup of the hours that you pay the salary, the person that's sitting in the seat. So you can pay for your EBITDA and all that stuff. So all of a
Yeah.
sudden there's a crisis about billable hours. And if not handled from a creative community aspect, are we in a race to the bottom? Forget about job elimination. I'm talking about the value that creative agencies give to their clients. How do we shore up agencies to stand firmly and not get into that race to the bottom?
Man, these are great questions. And you are absolutely hitting two topics I would love to unpack. So first question we're going to answer, I think, here is sort of the what to do about it. Now I have the concept that I talk about. And it's this, what do we do with ephemeralization, right? Because the next year it's going to be this, thing and the next thing. It's like there's this ongoing challenge in the industry and we're always being disrupted. The principle that I talk about is this thing called the value pyramid. And the preface to this idea, I'm going to say this. Everyone listening here has a certain expertise, okay? And other people might say, well, really what I do is I provide a service. And then there are other people here that perhaps sell a commodity. It's something that's easily replaceable and it's, you sell it based on price. Those three things. The entry into this concept, I would say, think of it this way, that yesterday's expertise is rapidly becoming today's service and tomorrow will be a commodity. Mm-hmm. So it's this idea of whatever that thing is that you do that you think is so awesome. Okay, let's just think of the people that were innovating in desktop publishing 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, where are they now? They were experts. Well, guess what? They rapidly became a service, which was very replaceable. And then they became a commodity because now I can just walk into Kinko's and press a button or I tell the person, I need that. And if their price is $1 cheaper than that one, I'm going with this. Okay. So once we realize that, we say, okay, wow. So there's this is the race to the bottom from the supply side. Okay, this is that process of ephemeralization. What I've noticed is that what do people do in response to this? So now I'm getting to your question. What do you do? What we do is we will take multiple commodities. Let's give an example. So let's say Curt runs an agency and he says, all right, I've got people. Again, I don't mean to call people commodities because that would be inhumane, but you get the point. I have bodies, mm-hmm. I have computers, I have office space, right? I have Adobe Creative Suite. These are all commodities. And what do? We combine them into a thing called a service, like editorial. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what we've done is we've combined something, and when we combine it, we climb up that value pyramid, we go up a level. And now we've taken a bunch of commodities, we've created a service. That's cool. What if we combine multiple services? We have editing, we have copywriting, we have strategy. If we combine those things, now we go up a level and we've created something we might call an expertise. Because an expertise can actually get a result called, oh, you want eyeballs? You want a trailer? You want a campaign that's going to bring in people to watch your movie? We have that expertise. Now it gets really interesting if we combine multiple expertises to create something up even a higher level, which is this innovation and category creation. I call it genius. So the answer to what to do about it is combine it. Take whatever commodities you have and as fast as you can, combine them into a service, because you're going to eventually look at all of the services that you have. And one of the services probably has AI attached to it. And you are now going to look at it and say, how do I combine that to create some new form of value called an expertise?
Yeah.
So I think that's my answer to that. Number two.
I want to interject.
Yeah, go ahead. Interject.
Because I love that, the roll up, some of your parts. There's another trend out there, and I hear it, but we're an AI first agency. And I'm going, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
It's like what? And
Like we're a desktop publishing
I'm an
first.
AI graphic designer. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, why position yourself like that? And it's wrong. We shouldn't be in an AI first world. AI is a number one topic in the world, but how you infuse that into your services, it should not lead. It might be a company strategy to focus on it, to transform your company. But, Pepsi is never going to say we're an AI first company. No, it's like you make beverages, what are you talking about? You're an AI first company. It's like, not that they said that. I'm just using it as an example.
Well, I think my observation has been those are people that are seeing there's a trend, there's a very fashionable word, and they want to leverage and they want to what is it, draft off of that heat for the moment. And it is very short-sighted, because I would just submit, if I saw, like if one of my clients said, we are an Adobe After Effects first motion design studio, I would say that's the dumbest thing you could ever lead with. Your tool is not the source of your genius. And once we start thinking about AI as a tool,
it's your brain.
You never lead with the tool, right? It's the artist, right? That would be like a painter saying, I am a paintbrush and paint first artist.
Yeah.
We'd be like, okay, why are you leading with that? That is not, and it's also not the differentiator. Because when we talk about positioning,
you're leading with a commodity.
You're leading with a commodity, and you're putting yourself in a position where a year or two from now, I think people are going to snicker.
Oh, 6 months. It's a very short cycle.
I mean, people are going to be snickering really soon at the people that have made that choice. So I'm just going to say, hey, save yourself the embarrassment. Don't lead with your tool. Your positioning has way more to do with deeper, more mystical, magical things than the tool.
And
so now,
creative should always be this enigmatic, mysterious thing.
There's a line I got for you. I love this line. I can't find the source. Where there's mystery, there's margin. And so when you think about that, it's this idea of, because we're about to talk about pricing. This is a good lead into pricing. When you go to a client and you say, here's what I do, there better be some damn mystery to it. There better be some magic and some dark, crazy, weird, mystical shit going on there, because that's why your client is going to trust you. And when we start talking about pricing, that's one of the reasons I'm going to pay a premium, because there's this je ne sais quoi.
Oh, yeah.
Misunderstood, or something I can't just quantify and give to the robot, and the robot can't do it.
Yeah.
So you're here. So I'm going to pay you to do it. Why would I pay a premium? Okay, pricing pressures.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I'm going to make a very potentially outrageous statement for everyone's benefit, for your consideration, because I think AI is simply the latest excuse for why we have to eradicate the billable hour. Okay, so I've got a couple friends. I'm going to mention Jonathan Stark, among others, who are these other, consultants, advisors, people that, here's what I'll say. The billable hour, its time has come. We're going to take it out back. We're going to shoot it. Because as creatives, we should never be measured and rewarded or compensated based on inputs. That's like saying, well, you tried really hard, therefore I'll pay you a lot of money. We have to be figuring out a way that we are compensated and rewarded for our results. You need me to make something for you. I'm going to make the thing for you. What's the value of that? Let's just agree that that's where we're headed. Now, what we have is several industries, advertising being a massive one, and several others in the creative space that are so fully indoctrinated and so completely invested in a model that is essentially billable time that it's going to take another generation or two for them to get this out of their system and snap out of it. But there are, like in advertising, let's just say this, the big agencies that are doing all that massive work, most of them are still agency of record contracts that are giant retainers of some form or another that come down to time and rates.
Right.
And that is the upside down incentive that fucks with so many things. So my first answer is, what do you say to the client, like you mentioned earlier? Hey, trailer house, you're using AI. That's really cool. You should be a lot faster now. Do I get a 40% discount? My answer would be no, you're going to pay the same, probably even more. But you know what? You're going to get so much more, you can't even believe it. Now, if you're looking for scale and you're just looking for like a chop shop that can crank stuff out, sure, we can help you solve that problem, or I'm probably going to point you to this company over there that sells that commodity.
Yeah.
And you will get a lot of work for cheap. That's just not the business I'm in, because I'm in the business called, I'm taking all my commodities and making them into services, and taking those services and making them into expertise. So if you, Curt, are on this journey and you are continually climbing this value pyramid and becoming more valuable every day, and you've integrated AI into your expertise, what you're doing now is more valuable, not less. So the response to pricing pressure is you never charge by the hour. And part two is you charge by the project or by the outcome or by the result or whatever that is. And it makes that more valuable, not less. So why would you charge less?
Right. Yeah, it's a very important thing for the agency owners to understand, but also the education of the clients of that concept.
Yes.
And that's the conversation that you articulated is we're giving you more value, and it's less about efficiency, it's about efficacy.
Thank
and
you.
we've spent a year and a half with just talking about, oh my God, it makes me so more efficient. It's like, yeah, but did it make you better at what you originally did? Like a better writer, a better designer, a better strategist with that time, right? That you get. It's like, are you just saving time, or are you improving yourself? Are you supercharging yourself, becoming, a super person based on the career that you've had? And, yes, artificial intelligence is the wrong terminology. I started using augmented intelligence because that's what it's doing. It's augmented. It's augmenting me.
Yeah.
But, hard to change that moniker at this point. But philosophically, that is what's happening. So yeah, thanks for your response. We are this is such a great conversation because we're both agency guys, and it's like I haven't had this type of conversation. I have to talk about other things with other founders, technology and ethics. And it's like, yeah, it's all important, but man, it's been great having a kinship on this show. I hope it's been a good conversation for you.
Oh, I've loved it. So fun.
Awesome. Well, listen, thanks so much for agreeing to be on our show so early in the morning. And to all you listeners and watchers out there, thanks for tuning in, and catch more of our RealmIQ sessions on your favorite podcast platforms like Spotify and YouTube. And please follow and smash that subscribe button. Thanks again. Take care.
Thank you, Curt. It's great. Enjoyed the conversation.
RealmIQ. Book your corporate AI workshop today.
CurtDoty.co. Branding, marketing and product development.